Have you ever been punished for doing the right thing? I'm not talking about something small. I'm talking about one of those life-altering, knock-you-off-your-feet moments where you should have been met with compassion, but instead, you got a punch to the gut. For me, that moment came in the form of an email. A cold, impersonal email that erased 5 years of my career with a single click. And the reason? I took 3 approved days off to bury my own father. This isn't just a story about losing a job. It's a story about how one heartless corporate act set off a chain reaction they never saw coming. It's about rebuilding something better from the ashes. And yes, it's a story about getting the sweetest kind of revenge without ever raising your voice. So stick around, because you are not going to believe how this plays out. Clear your desk by the end of the day, Chloe. Human Resources will handle the exit paperwork. The words on my computer screen blurred as I read them again. After 5 years of dedicated service to Apex Global Logistics, all I got was a cold, impersonal email. 3 days. That's all I had taken to bury my father. 3 days of approved bereavement leave. We need people who prioritize their work, the email continued, as if attending my father's funeral was some optional social event I had chosen over filing quarterly reports. I leaned back in my chair, the leather squeaking in the dead silence of the early morning. The Boise office was still mostly empty, the sky outside just beginning to brighten. I'd come in early, eager to catch up after my brief absence. My name is Chloe Thompson, and until about 2 minutes ago, I was the regional team lead of the highest performing division at Apex Global Logistics. At 34, I hadn't just built a career, I'd built a team that felt like family. We celebrated birthdays together, supported each other through tough times, and pushed one another to be our best. I looked around my workspace. The little cactus my team gave me last Christmas, the framed photo of all of us at the company retreat, the handwritten thank you notes from people I'd mentored. 5 years of my life, condensed into a few personal items that would fit in a cardboard box. The termination notice was signed by Mark Stafford, my direct supervisor, the same man who had personally approved my bereavement leave just last week. The reason listed was failure to maintain adequate presence during critical operational periods. Apparently, my father's death fell during one of these undefined critical periods. I didn't cry. I didn't slam my fist on the desk or storm into Mark's office demanding an explanation. Instead, I pulled out my phone, took a photo of the email, and then forwarded it to my personal account. Then I shut down my computer, stood up, and methodically began packing my things. By the time other employees started trickling in, my desk was half cleared. Jessica from accounting was the first to notice. "Chloe, what's going on?" she asked, her eyes widening at the sight of my box. "I've been let go," I replied simply. "What? Why?" Apparently, taking approved bereavement leave to bury my father wasn't showing the proper priority for my work. Jessica's face went from confusion to outrage. "That's not right. Have you talked to Cynthia?" "The regional manager has to know about this." "No," I said, carefully wrapping my cactus in newspaper. "I'm not going to fight it, but I won't forget it either." As I kept packing, more of my team arrived. Alex, the first of my direct reports to hear the news, lost his usual cheerful grin instantly. "This is bull," he started, but I cut him off with a small shake of my head. "It's done, Alex. Mark made his decision." "But we just closed the Newbrook merger last month. Profits are up 18% this quarter because of your planning." I smiled sadly. Apparently, that wasn't enough. By 9:30, all 7 of my core team members had gathered around my desk in silent solidarity. Ben, our logistics specialist, who rarely showed emotion, looked like he might punch a wall. Sophia, our client relations manager, was openly crying. Behind them stood Megan, Emily, Olivia, and Noah, each with expressions ranging from disbelief to pure fury. "You can't leave," Sophia insisted. "The Wilson account renewal is next week. The Hernandez shipping contract is in negotiations. None of us knows the system like you do." I finished taping up my box. Mark should have thought of that before he fired me for attending my father's funeral. The weight of what I'd just said hung in the air. My father, gone just a week, the funeral soil still fresh, and now this betrayal from a company I had poured my soul into. "I need everyone back at their desks," a sharp voice cut in from behind us. Mark Stafford stood there, arms crossed, his thin face set in a disapproving frown. "We have deadlines to meet." No one moved. "Now," he added, his voice rising slightly. After a long moment, my team dispersed, each one giving me a meaningful look as they returned to their workstations. Mark approached me, lowering his voice. "This could have been handled with more discretion if you'd waited until the end of the day to pack up." I met his gaze steadily. "Like the discretion you showed when you fired me via email after approving my bereavement leave." His jaw tightened. "Business needs change rapidly. Apex needs people who understand that priorities shift. Your father's passing was unfortunate, but—" "Don't," I warned, my voice deadly quiet. "Don't finish that sentence, Mark." For a second, something like uncertainty flickered across his face. Then he straightened his tie. "Human Resources is expecting you. Please don't make this more difficult than it needs to be." I picked up my box. "Don't worry, I won't make a scene. But remember this moment. Mark, you might find it's important later." The HR office was clinical. White walls, minimal decor, and the practiced, sympathetic expression of Sarah Jenkins. She was new, having joined just 6 months ago, and I could tell she was uncomfortable. "I'm so sorry about this, Chloe," she said, sliding separation papers across her desk, "and I'm very sorry about your father." "Thank you," I replied, scanning the documents. Standard severance, 2 weeks' pay, a non-disparagement clause, a reminder of my non-compete agreement, which prohibited me from working for direct competitors for 6 months. "Is there anything I should know about why this happened?" Sarah asked cautiously. "This seems so abrupt." I debated how much to share, then decided on the truth. I pulled out my phone and showed her the email. 3 days of approved bereavement leave, and I'm fired for not prioritizing work. Sarah's professional mask slipped, her eyes widening. "This is the actual termination notice? Just an email? No performance improvement plan? No documented warnings?" "Nope, nothing." She frowned, jotting a note on a legal pad. "I need to verify a few things with legal. Would you excuse me for a moment?" While Sarah stepped out, I gazed out the window. From this floor, I could see the Boise River winding through the city. My father had loved fishing that river. He taught me patience there, standing in waders as the current rushed past our knees. "The river moves, honey," he'd say, "but the rocks stay steady. Be like the rocks." Sarah returned 20 minutes later, her expression carefully neutral, but her tight smile told me everything. Nothing was going to change. "Unfortunately, Idaho is an at-will employment state," she began. "The company is within its rights to—" "I understand," I interrupted, signing the documents without further argument. "Apex can do whatever it wants, and so can I." She hesitated, then lowered her voice. "Off the record, this isn't right. If you wanted to pursue legal action—" "I don't," I said firmly, "but thank you." As I walked through the main office toward the exit, I felt eyes on me. My team watched in silence, their faces grim. I gave them a small, reassuring smile, my last act as their leader. Outside, the September air was surprisingly warm. I placed my box in the trunk of my car and just sat there for a moment, letting it all sink in. My phone buzzed with a text, then another and another. From Alex. "This is so wrong. What can we do?" From Sophia. "Are you okay? Can we meet up later?" From Ben. "Mark is a spineless jerk, and the whole team is furious." More messages poured in, expressions of outrage, support, and loyalty. These people weren't just my colleagues. They were my work family. I started my car, a plan already forming. I wouldn't fight Apex directly. I wouldn't sue, even though I probably had a case. No, I would be strategic, patient, like my father taught me. The rocks stay steady while the river rushes past. My phone rang. The caller ID showed Rob Mitchell. the CEO of Momentum Freight, Apex's biggest competitor. We'd met at an industry conference last year and kept in touch. He'd been trying to recruit me for months. It was time to call him back. The Momentum Freight office was everything Apex wasn't: open concept, collaborative workspaces, and huge windows framing the Boise skyline. Rob Mitchell, a burly man with a silver beard and keen eyes, welcomed me with a firm handshake. "I've been hoping you'd call," he said, guiding me to a conference room, though I admit I didn't expect it would be under these circumstances. Word traveled fast in our industry. Rob already knew I'd been let go, just not the details. I filled him in, showing him Mark's email. "That's not just bad management," Rob said, frowning. "That's inhumane. Bereavement leave exists for a reason." "Apex has always valued profits over people," I replied. "I just never thought I'd be on the receiving end." Rob leaned forward. "I'll be blunt, Chloe. I want you on my team. Momentum is expanding our Pacific Northwest operations, and we need someone with your expertise. The division director position is yours if you want it." My heart skipped a beat. Division director. A huge step up from my role at Apex. More responsibility, more authority, better pay. "What about my non-compete?" I asked. Rob smiled. "Our legal team has already reviewed it. It's overly broad and likely unenforceable. Plus, we'd cover any legal expenses if Apex even tried to enforce it." "I'll need to think about it," I said carefully. "Of course," Rob replied. "Take the weekend. We can talk specifics on Monday." That evening, I met Sophia and Alex at Riverfront Brewing, a small pub away from downtown. They arrived together, their faces a mix of anger and concern. "How are you holding up?" Sophia asked, sliding into the booth. "I'm all right," I assured them. "It's been a hell of a couple of weeks, but I'll land on my feet." Alex snorted. "Mark's a fool. The office is already in chaos. Nobody knows where the Henderson proposal files are, and the system access you had hasn't been transferred to anyone else." "Sounds like a Mark problem," I replied, taking a sip of my water. Sophia leaned forward. "It's more than that. Everyone's talking, not just our team. People are furious about how you were treated." "You were respected, Chloe," Alex said. "Not just by us. The way Mark handled this. People are scared now. If they can do this to you, their star team lead, what could they do to anyone else?" As we talked, more texts arrived from other team members. Similar stories of disorganization, frustration, and anger at management. Apex was already feeling my absence. "So what are you going to do now?" Alex asked. I hesitated. "I've had an offer from Vertex." Their eyes widened. "But your non-compete." "Those aren't always enforceable," Sophia said quickly. She worked with contracts daily, especially since they fired you without cause. "That's what Momentum's legal team said, but it's still a risk." Alex's phone buzzed. He checked it and frowned. "Mark's calling an emergency meeting tomorrow morning, Saturday. He's never done that before." "The Wilson account review is due Monday," Sophia explained. "Nobody can find your analysis files." I smiled slightly. Those files were properly stored on the company server, but my particular organizational system wasn't immediately obvious. I hadn't planned for this to be an issue, but I couldn't deny a flicker of satisfaction. "I should get going," I said, grabbing my purse. "Early appointment tomorrow." As I stood to leave, Alex caught my eye. "Chloe, if you did go to Momentum, hypothetically speaking, would they be hiring?" I paused, studying their faces. "Hypothetically, yes. They're expanding rapidly." The look that passed between Alex and Sophia told me everything I needed to know. Saturday morning, I met with David Chen, an employment lawyer. I explained my situation, showing him the email. "This is textbook wrongful termination," David said. "Firing someone for taking approved bereavement leave could be argued as both a breach of contract and a violation of good faith." "I'm not interested in suing," I clarified. "I just want to understand my options regarding the non-compete." He reviewed the document. This is overly restrictive. 6 months, 300-mile radius. They're essentially telling you to leave the industry or relocate. In Idaho, it's questionable, especially given the circumstances. Courts typically won't enforce non-competes when the employer acts in bad faith. He leaned back. What's your plan? Momentum Freight has offered me a position. Better title, better pay. David nodded. Apex would have to prove you're causing them actual harm by working there. Since they fired you, that's a tough argument to make. I'd say proceed with caution, but don't let this thing stop you from earning a living. Over the weekend, my phone kept buzzing with updates from my former team. The emergency Saturday meeting had been a disaster. Mark was pressuring everyone. The Wilson account files were found, but no one understood my analysis, and morale was at an all-time low. By Sunday evening, my decision was made. Monday morning, I called Rob Mitchell. I accept your offer, I told him. But I have one condition. Name it, he replied. I want to build my own team. If my former colleagues from Apex apply to Momentum, I want them to receive fair consideration. Absolutely, Rob agreed. If they're half as talented as you, we'd be lucky to have them. That afternoon, I signed my contract with Momentum as the Division Director of Pacific Northwest Operations. The salary was 40% higher than at Apex, with better benefits and a signing bonus. As I left, I checked my phone. 7 new messages, one from each core member of my old team. They all wanted to meet for coffee. Tuesday morning, I sat at a quiet corner table downtown. Alex and Sophia arrived first. One by one, Ben, Megan, Emily, Olivia, and Noah joined until we filled 2 tables pulled together. Apex is imploding, Ben said without preamble. Mark's micromanaging everyone. Cynthia is breathing down his neck, and clients are asking questions. The Wilson account is threatening to pull out, Sophia added. They wanted to know why you weren't handling their renewal. I sipped my coffee, listening as they all shared similar stories. We heard you accepted a position at Momentum, Alex finally said. The others went quiet, watching me intently. News travels fast, I observed. We want to come with you, Sophia stated firmly, and the others all nodded. I studied their faces. You all have good, secure jobs at Apex. Are you sure you want to risk that? What security? Megan asked bitterly. If they'd fire you for attending your father's funeral, none of us are safe. Momentum is hiring, I said carefully. I can't promise anything, but I can refer you. Each of you would need to apply formally. We already have, Olivia revealed, pulling out printed copies of confirmation emails. All 7 of us. Yesterday. I couldn't hide my surprise. You applied before even talking to me? We trust you, Chloe, Noah said simply. Where you go, we go. I felt a surge of emotion, gratitude mixed with a deep sense of vindication. Let me make some calls. The following Monday, my phone rang at 7:30 a.m. The caller ID read Cynthia Vance, Apex's regional manager. Chloe. Her voice was strained with forced calmness. We need to talk. Good morning, Cynthia, I replied, keeping my tone neutral. What can I do for you? I've just received 7 resignation letters, all from your former team, all effective immediately. There was a pause. Care to explain? I took a slow breath. I'm not sure what there is to explain. I don't work for Apex anymore. They're all going to Momentum, where you just started as division director. Her voice hardened. This doesn't look like a coincidence. People make their own career choices, Cynthia. Perhaps you should ask Mark why his top-performing team is leaving en masse. This is about your termination, isn't it? She sounded resigned now. I've reviewed the situation. Mark didn't consult me. I never would have approved it. That's between you and Mark, I replied. A long, uncomfortable silence. Look, Chloe, she finally said, desperation creeping into her voice. I'm prepared to offer you your position back, with a 10% raise and a formal apology. The Wilson account is threatening to walk. I appreciate the offer, Cynthia, but I've accepted a position elsewhere. We'll match whatever they're paying you plus 15%. It's not about the money. Then what would it take? It would take time travel, I interrupted. Going back to when my father died and having Apex show basic human decency instead of punishing me for grieving. The line went quiet. I have to go, Cynthia. I'm starting my new role today, and I don't want to be late. Your non-compete, she began, a weak threat. Feel free to have your legal team contact mine, I replied evenly, though they might want to review the circumstances of my termination first. After hanging up, I drove to Momentum. Rob met me in the lobby, beaming. We're making offers to all 7 of your former colleagues, he said. Their qualifications are outstanding. Interviews start Wednesday. By Friday, all 7 had accepted offers from Momentum. We met for dinner to celebrate. To new beginnings, Sophia said, raising her glass. And to Chloe, Alex added, who taught us what real leadership looks like. A week later, I received a formal letter from Apex acknowledging my wrongful termination and offering a settlement to avoid litigation. I accepted, not for the money, but for the official admission that they were wrong. That same day, the Wilson account signed with Momentum, bringing their business to us. 3 months later, I stood in Momentum's largest conference room, presenting our quarterly results. 30% growth in our division, 4 major client acquisitions, 3 of them former Apex accounts, and operational efficiencies that had cut costs by 22%. After the meeting, I returned to my office to find my team waiting with a cake. What's this for? I asked. It's been exactly 3 months since we all jumped ship, Alex explained. We're celebrating our Independence Day. My phone buzzed with a news alert. Apex Global Logistics announces major restructuring amid client exodus. I showed it to the group. Heard they lost the Hernandez contract last week, Ben said, cutting slices of cake. That's 20% of their Pacific Northwest revenue. Mark's gone, Megan added. Cleared out his desk Friday. I felt no pleasure in Apex's struggles, only a sense of justice. The company wasn't failing because we left. It was failing because its leadership had fostered a culture where employees were disposable. A year after that fateful email, Momentum named me Executive Vice President of Operations for the entire Northwest region. My division had become the company's crown jewel. Every single one of my original 7 team members had been promoted as well. On the anniversary of my termination, I received a small package in the mail. Inside was my old cactus, a little bigger but still thriving. A note was attached from Sarah Kent, the HR rep from Apex. It read, "Rescued this from your old desk. Thought you might want it back. Apex closes for good next week. I placed the cactus on my windowsill where it would get plenty of sun. Like me, it had survived being discarded and found a better place to grow." That evening, I drove out to the Boise River, to the spot where my dad and I used to fish. The water flowed steadily around the rocks, just as it always had. I realized my revenge hadn't been in watching Apex fall. My revenge was in building something better. So there you have it. That's my story. It's a reminder that sometimes the worst moments in your life can be the catalyst for the best changes. And the best revenge isn't tearing something down. It's building something so much better that the old thing becomes irrelevant. Now I want to hear from you. What do you think about this whole situation? Have you ever faced an injustice like this at work? Do you think this was sweet revenge or just smart business? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I promise I read all of them. And if you're a fan of stories about justice, resilience, and turning a raw deal into a winning hand, go ahead and hit that like button. And most importantly, smash that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you don't miss the next video. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.